All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about a massive new investment in the world of AI. And this isn't just another business deal. We're looking at a brand new challenger stepping into the ring to take on a tech giant. This story, it's about geopolitics, it's about crazy new tech, and it's about a huge, huge bet on what the future of AI is going to look like. And it all starts with this one massive number, $230 million. That is the kind of money a single company just raised. I mean, calling that a staggering amount is almost an understatement, right? It's a huge vote of confidence from some very, very serious people. And get this, we're not talking about some tech titan that's been around forever. The company is called Positron. They're a semiconductor startup, and they're only 3 years old. This latest round brings their total funding to over $300 million bucks. Not bad for a toddler in the tech world. So, that leads to the million-dollar question, or in this case, the $230 million question. Why on earth would anyone pour that kind of cash into a company that's so new? And more importantly, what does this tell us about the crazy, high-stakes battle for the actual hardware that powers our entire AI world? Okay, to really get why this is such a big deal, we have to look at the battlefield. And right now, in the world of AI chips, it's pretty much a one-king kingdom. And that king, you probably guessed it, is Nvidia. Their chips, their GPUs, they are the gold standard for building powerful AI. But whenever one company has that much power, it creates some tension. You start to worry about prices, about whether you can even get your hands on these chips. It's why even the biggest players, like OpenAI, one of Nvidia's top customers, are looking for other options. Now, to understand how this challenger plans to compete, you gotta grasp one really important idea. In AI, there are two main jobs, training and inference. They sound kind of similar, but trust me, the difference is everything. And it's right in that gap that this new company sees its chance.
So, training in AI, that's the heavy lifting, the brute force process of building a model from the ground up. But inference, that's what happens after the model is built. It's the power you need to actually use the AI. Every single time you ask a chatbot a question or generate a picture or use any AI feature on your phone, boom, that's inference. And with billions of people doing this every day, the demand for fast, efficient inference hardware is just exploding. And that's exactly where Positron is placing all its chips, so to speak.
All right, so let's meet the David in this whole David and Goliath story. A small company coming out of Reno, Nevada with a very, very specific plan. So who is this company, Positron? Well, like I said, they're a 3-year-old startup, and with this new funding, they're now armed with over $300 million. Their first big product is a chip called Atlas, and it's aimed right at the heart of the AI hardware market. And this is where their strategy gets super clear. See, Positron isn't even trying to beat Nvidia at its own game, AI training. Nope, the Atlas chip is all about one thing, inference. And here is the absolute kicker. They claim it can match the performance of Nvidia's best chip, the H100, while using less than a third of the power. If that's true, that is an absolute game changer, especially for things that need a ton of data, like real-time video. But Positron's big claims aren't just getting the attention of tech nerds and investors. To understand where the real money is coming from and the much bigger story here, we've got to zoom out from Silicon Valley and look at the world map. Yeah, the lead investor in this massive round wasn't your typical VC firm. It was the Qatar Investment Authority, the country of Qatar's own wealth fund, which, makes you ask the question, why is an entire country making such a massive bet on a small American chip startup? This quote right here really sums it up. Countries like Qatar are starting to see AI compute power as something more than just technology. They see it as absolutely essential for their economic future, for their ability to compete on the world stage. They believe they have to have access to this hardware to stay relevant. And this move is a perfect example of this growing global trend called sovereign AI. It's this idea that for a nation to secure its own future, it needs to build and control its own AI resources. So by investing in Positron, Qatar isn't just hoping for a nice payday. They're buying a strategic piece of the puzzle, a stake in the foundational tech of the 21st century. They're making sure they have a seat at the table. Okay, so we've got the players, we've got the tech, and we've got the global strategy. But what does this all mean? How does this one investment actually change the game for the future of AI? Let's use a simple analogy to make this super clear.
Imagine training an AI is like writing, printing, and binding a massive 1,000-volume encyclopedia from scratch. It takes a ton of time, energy, and resources. That's what Nvidia's chips are amazing at. But AI inference? That's like using a flashlight to quickly look up one tiny fact in that giant encyclopedia. Positron's whole goal? It's simple. They want to build a much, much brighter and more energy-efficient flashlight.
So after all that, why does this one funding round really matter? What's the big takeaway here?
Let's boil it down. There are three big things to remember. First, the AI chip market is finally getting some real competition. And for all of us, that could mean better prices and more innovation. Second, the whole industry is shifting its focus. It's not just about building these giant AI models anymore. It's about using them efficiently. Inference is the new king. And finally, this whole thing proves that the race for AI hardware isn't just a tech story anymore. It's a global, geopolitical priority. And that leaves us with a really interesting question for the future. You've got hundreds of millions of dollars backing these new specialized challengers. You have entire nations strategically investing to secure their own AI destiny. So, is the era of just one company completely dominating the AI world finally coming to